Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know.
There you are. Hola, bon dia, alegria, monthly with the Good Morning Portugal show, the live stream and the podcast. How are you today? Of course, the Portugal Club 2, where we'll go for question number, I think it's 90. Is it 98 this morning? We're getting ever closer. 99, 100. That's all 100 questions of the Portuguese citizenship test that we put together. There was a question over on YouTube or Facebook. Do the Portuguese government really use these questions? Not yet, is what I will say to that. Thank you for being here this morning. I do have a new PC that I'm using, and it does sound a little bit different in my headphones. And when I started, the music was coming out of the wrong hole. So we'll see what happens there. I think everything's okay. Let me know if everything sounds okay at your end. An exciting weekend in Portugal, of course. How many people was it that went and turned out for the presidential election? Thank you, Antonio F., for your coverage. He says, and we'll return to this because we'll be talking about this with Vitor Costa a little bit later on at around 8:20. Why is there's something buzzing in the studio, like it's the humidifier or something of that kind. I might have to get up and I might have to put a video on and go and turn that off. It's something buzzing in the background. I don't know if you can hear that or not. Anyway, good to see you this morning. Antonio F. There for us at the Portugal Club with a note. I will put the link to it because we will be going into this a lot deeper and asking the question, what if there is a CHEGA president in Portugal? We live in the times where it used to be, people would say, oh, that couldn't possibly happen. And it probably didn't. We now live in the times, I think, where if you say that won't happen, it probably will. It probably will. There are precedents for that now, aren't there? Not presidents, but there are presidents who are setting precedents of this kind, for sure. Yes. And thank you very much to... Oh, Lisa, that's also very good coming in. Okay, yeah, you hearing these alerts as they're coming in on 913-590-303. These are the sort of things I probably need to turn off as we get used to having a new PC here, which is performing pretty well. The last one, the motherboard went, fortunately, not live on air, but the one that Mrs. M and I have been using for a couple of years now finally gave up the ghost, and the wonderful people at PC Test in Caldas de Rainha were able to transfer my data and get me up and running pretty seamlessly with a fabulous new and fast machine. But I shouldn't gloat or dwell on having a fantastic computer and saying how great it is, because we know what happens when you do things like that. Thank you very much, T-Duck, for your Martin Luther King Jr. Correspondence in the comments. This, of course, Martin Luther King Day today, the 19th of January. And tomorrow, the day of Saint Sebastian, San Sebastian. Some people were celebrating this last weekend, the Festa, the Feira of San Sebastian, and it actually officially happens. The day of San Sebastian is tomorrow, and I've created a little bit of a resource about that over at the Portugal Club. I think you've got the link to Antonio F's coverage. We'll talk more about this with Vitor Costa. What would it mean to have a CHEGA president in Portugal? I think that's a useful question to take a look at. As predicted, he says, Antonio F., a second run will be needed for these presidential elections, as no one got the required 50% of the vote. So that's how it works. If any of the runners and riders, and I've got a copy of the ballot card here. Look at that. Isn't that impressive? These are all the folks you could have voted for if you were voting yesterday. If you are not a citizen, if you're any other kind of resident here, you can't vote at this level. As a resident, not citizen, as I did, you could vote in the local elections just recently. But for presidential elections, I believe you have to be a citizen to do that. And these were the choices for yesterday. Let me just take that comment off the screen so you can see what I'm talking about here. Yeah, there you go. It's quite an impressive list, isn't it? And some upsets and surprises, I think. As Antonio F. is saying here, because no one on that list reached 50.1% of the votes, the two candidates that will go to the second turn are José Seguro, who got 31 0.14% of the vote, and Andre Ventura in second place at 23.48. That's 23H25 data. That perhaps is the name of the company, 23H25. As abstention was 46, nearly 47%, the lowest abstention. That's a lot of people not taking part, you might say, 47, but 53 did or thereabouts, and that's the lowest in 20 years. And the link for that and our thread, our general thread for the presidential build-up and what happened yesterday, and looking forward, I think it's February the 8th where we'll have another election. So we'll enjoy Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa on the screen with us until then, until that decision is made. But I think we're asking the very serious question, as Matty is in the chat this morning, what would happen if we... Oh, no, he's not asking that, but he is asking, so who won the election yesterday and what will that mean in the coming years? Undecided. But the two finalists are going through to the February 8th election, Matty, and we will be asking the question, what would happen if we did have a CHEGA president? What might that be like? What do you think that would be like? Like I've said about Donald Trump, I'm not especially afraid of Donald Trump. I'm afraid of people, human beings who behave in a different way once a certain type of leader has been selected. That's my personal view on it, for what it's worth. But we'll ask Vitor Costa what he thinks of that, one of our Portuguese BFFs. He's been in his own hot water with his recently launched YouTube channel that you might take a look at. I can't remember. He'll give us the address for that on YouTube. The real Vitor Costa, it's not Vitor Costa for Portugal Door. It's his own commentary channel where he put up a very interesting video yet, having been attacked by somebody who was endeavoring to besmirch his reputation and suggest that no one used his services on account of what they thought he said about a certain situation in the United States. Lots of that going on in the world right now, of course. Nothing new there. We'll have a little look as well at Munson's mailbag. I better get on with it because he's going to be here in 10 minutes. But I've got to turn the humidifier off because not only is it making a noise, I think it's causing a cold draft as well. So let's see if I can be back in my seat before the end of this video here, and a couple of bits of correspondence that have come in via YouTube. I've got 10 seconds to get back to my seat. Seamless. How about that? Right. A couple of things, and also some things of beauty. I think it's really important when we touch on news that might be a little bit triggering or depressing, we balance that with some lovely stuff as well, and fun stuff. And we have had some lovely and fun stuff in. And we've also got the Portuguese citizenship test question before we wade in. You might prefer not, if you're boycotting or avoiding political news, I wouldn't blame you if that's what you're doing at the moment, not to listen to the rest of the show after Vitor gets here, after we've said hello to him. Maybe you'd like to say hello to him, and then go do something that isn't impressing upon your mental health. I think we all need to be wary of that at the moment and take good care. So I wouldn't blame you at all. It is a conversation I want to have, however, and I'm going to do my best to balance what we'll be talking about with some things of beauty before then, including, well, let's go to the mailbag first, shall we? Actually, no, here's a bit of fun. Let's do this very quickly. Mike Blake, you might know Mike Blake if you're in and around Caldas de Rainha, Silver Coast. Mike's a pretty cool correspondent, actually. He posts up a pretty good balance of hard-hitting political stuff and classic dad jokes, basically, like this. I woke up with a cold today and had to take a cough drop to get going. Bayards, I wonder? I then ate a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast. It was no, not Bayards. It was Halls and Oats breakfast. I call it the man-eater. Ouch. My goodness. Right. Back to the mailbag then, and things that have come in, including a comment on one of my postings, one of my many postings. I have been ripped off more times here than anywhere else in the world. That was from Mel, who will be with us tomorrow if you want to talk to her directly about that. But obviously that prompted some interesting conversation and correspondence. Cy Hickman saying that he's had the opposite experience. In my 8 years living in Portugal, I've had completely the opposite experience, from the garage to the dentist. I'm guessing the garage as in the mechanic. Very often I've been quoted one price. When I've come to pay, it's been less. No, go away. Look at this cat here. He's up on my desk already. If you're going to stay here, you have to be on my lap. This one is so naughty and mischievous. I've got to put a hatch on the attic for this very reason. Now, if you're going to stay here, you've got to behave yourself and not walk all over the desk, okay? Which I don't think he wants to do. That was quite a big distraction. This I thought was funny from Futures 62. Most tradespeople charge an idiot tax. Now, it would appear, and we're not, certainly not, I'm sure this isn't being leveled at you, Mel. You gave other reasons for why you thought you'd been ripped off. But Futures 62 says most tradespeople charge an idiot tax, and this is global, is it not? I suspect the bigger the idiot, the bigger the tax. I thought that was hilarious. Thank you very much, both Asai Hickman, Futures 62, and to Mel for kicking that off. Another bit of interesting correspondence, and this is at the Portugal Club from a new member who I said I would anonymise. I'm thinking of moving to Portugal. I'm from London, mate, but I've been living in Spain for 11 years. Where is it safe to move to for a single woman? I'm not looking for city life, but not too rural either. So any advice would be appreciated. If you can help with that, pop over to the Portugal Club, where that was a fairly recent question over there. And I think that's a question worthy of getting involved in to help out this new member of the Portugal Club. Michael Whitby made a very good comment talking about crime in Portugal. He noted that most crimes in Portugal are perpetrated. Not that this makes it any better, but it does tell you about the type of crime you're likely to see in Portugal, mostly between people who know each other, families, and people who know each other. Very interestingly. Right now, I was crowing, was I not, about my new PC and how great it is, and I think it is. But there's something on the software now that's seized up, and I can't scroll to other parts of what I want to show you at the moment. Okay, well, we'll go with that. I can show you other things that I've got on the picture deck that I would like to share with you this morning before Vitor Costa turns up. I might have to refresh things here. We'll see what happens with that. Let me shut a few tabs, which is good practice anyway, is it not? There is the Portugal Club map, something I've been wishing to show you as well. It shows the distribution of Portugal Club members around Portugal and indeed around the world. It's not when I blow up to that scale of where people are, and the schoolers SK have been really cool and put the pins plus or minus 10 miles for privacy, but it gives you a really good idea of where the Gumpers are in Portugal and around the world as well. So there's that. And I did promise you some good news, didn't I, as well as talking about the heavyweight issues of the presidency and the presidential race that we'll talk about with Vitor Costa, and what it might be like to have a Portuguese president who is the CHEGA party leader, basically, André Ventura. Right, Welsh Jackie's here. We haven't said hello to anybody either this morning. I'm going to leave them on the screen for a moment. Bon dia, Alegria Gumpers from T-Duck at around 7 this morning, heading out early. Oh, and this. Thank you very much. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the United States. Born in 1929, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an American civil rights activist and Baptist minister who was a leader of the civil rights movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968. Dr. King advanced civil rights for people of color through the use of nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience against the Democrats, Jim Crow laws, and other forms of legalized discrimination. Those who are not looking for happiness are the most likely to find it, because those who are searching forget that the surest way to be happy is to seek happiness for others. How wonderful. Martin Luther King Jr. We have flown the air like birds and swum the sea like fishes, but have yet to learn the simple act of walking the earth like brothers. Yeah, well, could this be the time? Could these strange times produce a time when we can walk on the earth like brothers, I wonder? The darkest hours before the dawn, perhaps. You're not only responsible for what you say, but also for what you do not say, Martin Luther King Jr. as well. Thank you very much, T-Duck, for that contribution on this Martin Luther King. I don't think we go with the full title, do we? I don't know how you refer to it briefly in the United States, but let's go with Martin Luther King Jr. and the day celebrating him and his life and his contribution, the 19th of January. Matty, good morning to you. Sarah, good morning to you too. And we will get to your question, Matty. Bon dia, Gumpers from Welsh Jackie and Andeiro, the Porky Feet. Bon dia, Malta. We're off up the coast to visit James' new stomping ground, Espinho, to visit the market. It's more than calling it a market kind of undersells it, doesn't it? It is a small town that sets up most Mondays, does it not, there in Espinho. Gemini with us as well. And Mel, the aforementioned, another cold start over at Quinta Entre Aguas. Oh, sorry, I meant slow start Monday. I'm not sure what you mean, but yes, we'll have a slow and easygoing start so until we get into the presidential discussion and the possibility of a CHEGA president here in Portugal, what that might mean for us all. Foreigners, I'm saying, or pointing to particularly. Saw the first time this year a snake living in my granite terrace. Sent you a pic of the snake. Thank you very much. Yeah, it would appear to be snake season. I have seen other photos of fabulous whip snakes here in Portugal, and there is a little area of the Portugal club devoted specifically to great snake photos and videos I've been sent. Two of my lot voted, so they won't get the 50% here. Thank you, Andy. So not voters almost got 50%. Don't forget, take off the headset. Yeah, I did remember that before I ran from the desk there. Thank you for that. I should have read your advice a little sooner, but I had that covered, Matty. Thank you. The Portuguese are a wonderfully moderate nation. Populism is a little dangerous, but what do I know? I never thought people would. Exactly. I don't think we can take much comfort anymore, Pete, in when people respond, oh, don't worry, that could never happen here. We're in the times where if you say that, it might. Hola, bon dia. Back in the big smoke for a few days. Hi, Chris. Good morning to you. Bon dia, Chris. Hope you're having a lovely morning, says Pete. Yes, it was a beautiful whip snake, Matty. And we'll show you a picture of that. Yes, she is, and she's taking care of the mice. Now, my dog caught a mouse yesterday. A lovely little thing it was as it looked up at me, having been traumatized by Jimmy Choo. Right, we've definitely locked up on the software of StreamYard at the moment, so I'm going to refresh. I'll be right back after this, okay? Okay, I'm reloading the screen. Go put a kettle on or talk among yourselves for a minute. There you go. I wonder if that will come off the screen now, or if we're locked up. We've got our scroll button back now, so I can. There you go. That was very strange, and there are also other adjustments I need to make now. The magic of show business, and my green screen now. You see that? That's San Martino yesterday. By the way, look at that sunshine there. And that refresh of the screen has thrown things out a bit. I think I've got one or two other settings to. I knew it. I should not have boasted about my new PC, should I? There you go. That's better. I hope. I don't really want you to see the edges of my green screen. There you go. There you go. I think we're okay now. Let me just make sure we've got the right sound setting for you as well. Yep. Streamer X, and we're on the stream cam by Logitech. The more things you factor in to make things better, the more dependencies you have, right? Or the more variables that can possibly go wrong. All right, Matty, I'm very well aware, thank you, that it's not a great start with a new hardware car. I think it was a software issue. Bob's here as well. Bon dia todos, alegria. Wonderful sunny day yesterday. It was, wasn't it? Fantastic sound healing session in Porto. Ooh, and thoughts and prayers to Spain today after a devastating train accident. Yeah, that was awful, wasn't it? Waking up to that news this morning as well. This cat is behaving himself so far. But I shouldn't probably say things like that either. Other things of a fun and beautiful nature before we start talking about the presidency and the possible presidency of a CHEGA president here. What that might mean, and why the year might feel like this. I think there's something we can do about this. We do have to take a proactive role, don't we, in how we want 2026 to be. Otherwise, we're going to inherit this sort of thing. I don't know who the artist was who created this, but I do really get this, that up to 2019, 2020, things were going in a certain way. And then it turned into a massive jumble from which we've yet to emerge. I think it's up to us to see how we emerge from this. And we do need to invest. We do need to choose, I think, rather than just letting the world come our way that is being decided by others, it would seem. For example, your nervous system doesn't need another quick fix. It needs more God, or insert there. I know the G word can be triggering for people, but whichever highest power in your life, even if it is your own ego, perhaps, that you might insert in the place of the G word there. I've got no problem with saying the word God personally. Get over yourself. Just substitute what you would rather hear there. Nature. Are we going to argue over that? Your nervous system needs more nature, more laughter, deep sleep, gut healing. Have you done any gut healing recently? Safe people. I like to think we have safe people in our community here. And if we don't, you tell me, and I'll boot them out, quite frankly. Cathartic crying. I know if I'm on a long journey and I put on some of my favorite music, that happens to me. I do a bit of cathartic crying. It's the music that does it to me. And seeing dolphins, as I think I might have explained to you before. Foods that love you back, like a pastel de nata. Talking of which, foods that love you back. Jomo, enjoying a bit of Jomo, the joy of missing out. Not the fear of missing out, but the joy of missing out. No, I won't be coming along to that. No, I don't want to do that. Thank you very much. And as Tony said, do you want to come out on Friday? Why? What for? You're gonna have to sell it to me. And a balance of movement and stillness. Who doesn't like a good movement first thing in the morning? And a bit of stillness as well. Thank you to Dr. Will Cole for that. Foods that love you back. Might this be included? Portugal serves up the world's biggest pastel de nata, and yes, people swam in it. We've just mentioned the Portuguese, and I think you should note that this is a question, a post from him. Looks a little bit like San Martino de Porto, doesn't it? An old picture of probably how it used to look back in the day before the more modern buildings were built on Monkey Green, which that might be, it might not. Portugal serves up the world's biggest pastel de nata, and yes, people swim in it. This weekend, the normally tranquil seaside town of San Martino de Porto is transforming into one of Portugal's most delightfully surreal destinations as it hosts its annual giant pastel de nata festival. There were friends in the San Martino de Porto grapevine group asking where this was happening and was it for real. I'm not going to tell you yes or no right now. Bear in mind, it was the Portuguese who posted this. A celebration that blends pastry, spectacle, and unapologetic excess. For 2 days, the town streets fill with the unmistakable aroma of custard, cinnamon, and caramelized pastry. It's like a hot tub, but made up of pastel de nata. Local bakeries compete, musicians perform, and visitors arrive from across Portugal and beyond, all drawn by one question. How big can a pastel de nata really get? The answer comes on Sunday afternoon in the town square. I was there, and I must have missed it. I rushed down there, Tony. Thank you very much for bringing that to my attention. But sadly, I wasn't able to dip my big toe in any custard yesterday. That picture reeks of AI. What doesn't these days? What does not? I wonder. Good morning to you, Paul, as well. Carl, good to see you have got the lighting right in your studio. Oh, thank you. You know a thing or two about that, don't you? I have plenty of Jomo in crowds of traffic jams here. Jomo, who would have thought it? That we would ever be celebrating Jomo. Right, what else have we got? Thank you, as the Portuguese, for bringing that to my mind and everybody else's attention. What's this then? Oh, this is nice as well. Grabbing a cuppa and be right there. Okay, I'm going to say in Portuguese, fija, to Antonio Costa. He's busy at the moment, wondering how the EU are going to respond to Donald Trump over the Greenland grab. There have been some hilarious responses as well. So let's keep our sense of humor about all of this, shall we? And a sense of beauty and love in this wonderful world of ours, including here the new luxuries. Let me go to that again. Where are they? Where are those new luxuries? Yeah, the new luxuries are what your grandmother already knew. Isn't this lovely here? Right, let's just take that comment off the screen. Sorry, Matty. Freshly laundered linens dried in sunlight. Now, there are times of the year when we can do that in Portugal. Yesterday was one of them. I'm looking forward to more days of airing me laundry and smalls. But isn't that a lovely thing when you get on some crispy linen after it's been dried in the sunshine? Absolute luxury. A pot of tea that tastes like memory. Yorkshire tea, eh, Paul? lavender bundles tied with twine. It's just sounding like a song from The Sound of Music, isn't it, at the moment? Soft sweaters knit slowly, stitch by stitch. These are a few of my favorite things. Lit candles in the evenings. Yes, did that recently. And an open fire, of course. Sat on rocking chairs at dusk. Or, the way some people feel at the moment, just rocking in your chair anyway, even if it's not a rocking chair, but sat on rocking chairs at dusk, going out to see the day end or change is rather lovely too, isn't it? And reading old books. Delighted to see that daughter Minnie is enjoying some Roald Dahl, The Chocolate Factory. Isn't that great? Traditional style from a book that you can smell. Almost smell the chocolate, can't you? And you can smell some of the kids mentioned in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. 2026 is a soft return to everything warm. Well, it could be. It can be if we allow it. Go on. He's desperate to walk on my keyboard. Go somewhere else, you. Right. Thank you, Victoria Erickson, who's well worth following on Facebook, posting up some beautiful things. Custard has a non-Newtonian viscosity, Matty, so you could walk on it if you had a custard pool. Just think of the fun you could have there, Matty. Couple more things for you. Thank you, Victoria Erickson there. Let me dispatch that now and make room for more loveliness. Do send things of this kind to me, Victoria Erickson, Dr. Will Cole there, with some nervous system suggestions there. People are talking more about that, aren't they? About healing and adjusting your nervous system, because things are a bit like this at the moment. We remember 2026 can be how we want it to be in many ways. Let's not be overcome and undermined by a lot of the nonsense that's going on. 5 ways to rest then that aren't sleep as well for you this morning. Go for a slow walk with no destination. What a lovely idea. Sip a warm drink without multitasking. Yeah, enjoy your cuppa. Almost get into it like it were a pastel de nata that you could swim in. That's a lovely idea, isn't it? Mindful drinking rather than trying to do everything at the same time, including your cup of tea. Let your mind wander without correcting it, and all that self-judgment that can come in with those thought trains that happen. Actually, we've got a great guest tomorrow, as well as Mel, coming for a bit of Mel-being tomorrow morning. We've got Andrew Johnson also joining us. It's a community that I discovered on school. SKOOL, a fellow schooler, will be talking to tomorrow. And Andrew Johnson is the creator of Relax, Change and Create, a supportive meditation space with live guided sessions, simple practices and tools to relax, change old patterns and create a better life. He's our guest tomorrow. I'm sure he'd approve of these. Let your mind wander without correcting it. Close your eyes and breathe in a box pattern. Does everybody know what that is? You're following the lines of a box, aren't you? 1, 2, 3, 4, really, as you go around the corners. It's quite a little good aid to structuring your breathing there and seeing what sort of results you get. Very good. That's number 4 of the 5 ways to rest that aren't sleep. And stretch the parts that have the most tension. Oh, I say, that could get you into all sorts of trouble and pleasure, I suspect as well. And I was was it you, Matty, that was talking about stretching in such a way that you hold the stretch for 2 or 3 minutes, such that you get a fascial benefit as well. That really did me some good, I have to say. Could this guy be the new president? I want to know. It's this one at the moment. I don't think Terence Austin was in the running. You have to be a Portuguese national to become a president. Vitor's here now. Just a couple more things before we go to him, and we'll do the Portuguese citizenship test question with him. Thank you. Send more of these beautiful things that help us remember that life is good, although that living can sometimes be a little bit challenging. Pain is standard, suffering is optional, as they say. I'm going to share with you some beautiful pictures now. This was San Martino de Porto. That's my green screen picture. That was the beach yesterday. Life is good, right? And we wandered up to the chapel yesterday. This was the view from the chapel, looking out to the sea. It was absolutely beautiful up there yesterday. And obligatory, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's important, if you're Portuguese, that you give your neighbours citrus, bags full of. And thank you very much to Elena and Ian, gifting us from some citrus from the mother-in-law, Ian, who occasionally watches our show and sends me lovely things from, I think it's Almarin, isn't it? Further inland. These were delicious. The kids were all over them, the little mandarins, satsumas, tangerines, whatever you call them, and looking forward to making some juice from those oranges there. And a quick notice, later on this morning, there's an in-person online networking event on Zoom that Lisa Boysen has started up. This came out of nowhere last week. A great idea. And we have a Zoom call today. If you run a business and you'd like to be part of this, if you drop me a line, I'll connect you into the group. We're meeting at 11 o'clock this morning, Lisbon time. And I think you have to register in advance. So I just can't give out the link willy-nilly on that. And yes, while we're sharing the work of others that we thoroughly approve of, Lighthouse Consulting's Raquel, her cultural understanding work is fantastic. Here, look, she's saying, pick the right moment to push and the right moment to wait when you're in Portugal. Avoid redoing paperwork. Communicate in a way that actually gets, what's that? A result, presumably. Where are my banners? Here. The final one there is, yes, communicate in a way that actually gets a yes, and stop paying for unnecessary fixes, presumably fines and taxes as well, caused by misunderstandings. Great work there, Raquel. And she wants to come and do that IRL, in real life, here on the Silver Coast. So I'm delighted to be thinking of a way we can do that and have Raquel come here and do that in real life, not online, like the business owners meeting at 11. I understand why that can be a useful thing, but sometimes it's great to get together in person, is it not? And I think the Portuguese cultural understanding would be one of those great moments to get together in real life. Let's give him a nice big round of applause and bring him onto the screen. Olá, bom dia.
Hello, good sir. Good morning to you and your audience.
Tudo bem? What have you got there? That's not really a
Coffee.
cuppa. That's a thimble, isn't it? You got your coffee anyway.
Yeah.
Good man.
Portuguese coffee size.
Very good. And Portuguese ceramics as well, I think. That's for a thing of beauty there.
Okay, let me unblur the camera. But this is
Don't look at the bottom of your cup. Careful.
From Nespresso.
Oh, okay. All right. Made in Bangladesh.
Costa Nova, made in Portugal.
Excellent. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, these are one of my favorites.
Unlike the CHEGA campaign T-shirts, which I think were made in Bangladesh, and there's an irony there, is there not? And that's what I want to talk to you about today, Vitor. After we've made sure you're okay. How are you? How's the family? Everybody well there?
Yeah, we're doing good. We still have some clients on the pipeline, but if anybody else wants to help fill it up, feel free to do so, by the way. But yeah, we're good. The kids are growing fine. We're learning every day. We're doing new things. We keep rediscovering ourselves and realigning with our values and with what's important. Connecting with family, because all work and no play makes Johnny a dull boy, right? And here we are.
Well done. Well done. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work, doing the most important thing on this good earth. Great stuff. And yes, you're negotiating the business terrain and suffering the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune and upset trolls. What's the name of your new YouTube channel so that people can subscribe to that?
So my new YouTube channel on YouTube is just at Real Vitor Costa.
Real.
In fact, I don't know if it's this. Wait. I can connect it. Maybe.
Really? Oh, we're going to stream on your channel. Let's do it.
No. Maybe next time. We'll be wasting a long time. But basically, it's at Real Vitor Costa.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna put that in.
You know.
Yes, and you're addressing the sort of question in a way that we'll be talking about today, which is what might it be like to have a CHEGA president? Now, I prefaced this, Vitor, and those, that's the sort of question you might take a look at, right? Or certainly you would deal with some of the fallout in how people tend to get triggered and upset in such conversations. That might also be a little bit of a post-mortem video that you would do on the Real Vitor Costa. There we go. Got you a new subscriber. Found it and subscribed.
Nice. And by the way, that new channel, it's more for me to express myself and comment on things that are going on, kind of like how we're doing now, even though your show is based on Portugal.
Yes.
But the reason why I'm doing that is because I've always had a curiosity in knowing and understanding people. right? So
It's the rich scene.
any kind of person, I don't care if I have the opportunity to talk to you. Like if I could talk to that German leader, from history sometime, just to understand what went through his mind, I would
Yes.
be the kind of person who would do it instead of freaking out and kicking him off a cliff, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean, right?
Yeah.
And so after all of this and all of these years, obviously I've been paying some attention to American politics. I have many friends there, also Portuguese and other countries. And then it seems like every day more and more people are starting to detach from each other.
Mm-hmm.
But I can understand both people's viewpoints, and the more I see people talking about online and all of these things, the more I notice how nobody really understands the other side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think we're having so many problems and conflicts, and then we're having all of these political situations all over the world because people don't understand. And so my idea with that channel isn't to tell you what to think, isn't to tell you basically who's right or wrong, but I want to bring more of an emphasis of how people are feeling and what people
Yeah.
are seeing, because it's easy for people to forget that when someone believes something, right, or supports whatever political candidate, it's usually not because they're crazy, evil people. It's because what they've experienced, what they've seen, what they believe uh, made them to have that conclusion. And the thing is, it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong because it's how they see it. And if you refuse to acknowledge that, or to at least have that, accepted that you're being
Graciousness. Graciousness might be a word.
the what?
A graciousness and respect of that.
No, that's not what I'm getting at. What I mean is, if you don't accept that that person has valid reasons in their mind, besides being an evil person, but they have valid concerns and valid ideas that may or may not be wrong, but because of what they believe, they think that is the right solution. Um, that that that's how people are, right?
Mm.
Even if they're not factually correct, their belief is what leads them to that way. And if you believe in that, if you accept that, then you can approach people in other ways instead of just being guns blazing, like that video I made of that lady, right?
Yeah.
So for one small comment, she immediately thought I was saying, you know what it was? People can check the video.
She was
Curious.
going in a certain direction, I think, Vitor, and she needed to see what you said in a certain way to have the reaction she was destined to have. And that's also a good thing to observe. And I'm not singling her out for that. We all do it.
Exactly.
We all do it. And to be seen, catch yourself doing it is an almighty gift. In a way, so I don't know how that's going to end up, but it's certainly a very good analysis from your point of view of how that situation unfolded there, and it caused quite a pleasant exchange between us, I think, last night as well. We had a nice spin-off discussion as a result, didn't we, on WhatsApp because of that?
Of course. I mean, I've been around the internet for over 10 years, right? This has always happened on the internet. People are crazy there. I'm already used to it. I grew up around it, right?
Yes,
But
absolutely.
the
You're
thing
native.
is, the reason why I made the video isn't because this is anything new, but because I've decided to stop not addressing certain things that are impactful and in my view are kind of damaging society, because I feel like we've reached a point where we've normalized this type of behavior and this type of righteous indignation about certain people and certain ideas and opinions. And it has a bit to do with the elections, not only here, but all over the world that have been happening.
Yes.
And yeah, that's why I want to bring some voice for that side and do my best attempt to try and bring sanity back on the menu.
Well done. Well done. So you can do that with Vitor at this YouTube channel at Real Vitor Costa. So on that note, and to just give you a little bit more of that, or remind everyone of the context of the question this morning, could Portugal have a CHEGA president? I asked the question because I'm so used to being told or hearing that could never happen, or don't worry about that. You're not the foreigners we're looking for kind of vibe. Obi-Wan. Yeah. However, I think it could happen. And I'm not saying I want it to or don't want it to. That's not the point. The point here is in a way that I would have believed people a few years back. Don't worry, that would never happen. That's just a little bit of sort of political intrigue or drama. It could happen here, couldn't it? And I wonder what you think as a Portuguese person that might mean for foreigners, because that's what our community and our niche is about here. Although, you know, much broader observations are also welcome. And there was another part to this as well that I wanted to ask you about. It's because for me, it's not so much the person who gets voted for, it's the atmosphere that gets created because that person has been voted for. And that's, I wrote I think it was a sort of poem or little piece that was, I'm not afraid of Donald Trump, I'm afraid of you. And the suggestion was that Donald Trump is, you know, of course, there are some of the sort of geopolitical moves that affect us all. But actually what would affect me most is empowered behavior by, come back to the Portuguese version of this. If André Ventura, a CHEGA president, was voted for and was the president of Portugal, it's not so much him, it's other people, my neighbors, people in my community who feel empowered, emboldened to behave in a certain way because they're taking their cue from what they're projecting onto him. And I think this is certainly what's happening in the US and happens around the world. You know, I think we could be more scared of our neighbors, really, because we live with them and what might happen in their minds than we might of the actual leader who's figuratively, politically being voted for. So what do you make of all of that? Sorry, that's a massive question.
That is exactly the way I see it. And actually, I was talking to Maria yesterday about that very same thing, which is usually one person really doesn't do much, right? A person gets elected. Okay, even if they wanted to change the world, even if you got elected, you probably wouldn't be able to do much really with all the layers of bureaucracy and nonsense that all of the governments have. But indeed, it would send a message to the people, right? And I think a good example of that was when Trump got elected, he wasn't even in power yet, and already you could see the border crossings crawl to a halt.
Yeah.
Because, okay, this guy got elected. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't want to move to America anymore, cross the border. And so that does have an impact. That does have a deterring effect, right? Now, you also asked whether or not this would be possible. And I will say this. And by the way, small disclaimer, I'm talking about not what I want to happen, but what I see as possible reality given the circumstances. If we continue the way we have been going, and by that I mean the inability for people to have discussions, and I largely do blame the media for this, because the media decide that this side is good. Anybody who tries addressing certain topics is immediately labeled fascist, Nazi, all kinds of things. So if you notice, there are certain parties all over the world that as soon as somebody starts running or talks about immigration, for example, or talks about certain subjects, immediately they are harassed, they are insulted, they are belittled. And this happens even with reporters, which I find gross and disgusting. I mean, you could be, in my opinion, if you're a journalist and you're interviewing even the most savage murderer in the planet, you should be there asking him questions and facts and not trying to insult him and call him out for, killing people, right? Unless if the murderer did that to your family, then get another reporter to talk to him. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And so if we keep this up, if we keep this this environment where it's impossible for people to really express themselves and their concerns, no matter how valid or not you think they are. But if it keeps going like this, I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 5 to 10 years, some country in Europe would actually elect a literal mega Hitler that would not go from, hey, let's control immigration, and would move to, hey, let's just take them all down. And the public would probably support that.
And that's why you're so keen to create dialogue, to avert that.
That would be a nightmare situation, right?
But the thing is,
if you call people Nazis and fascists and whatever long enough, they will start agreeing with you.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it?
Turning them into those things.
These are the dehumanization processes, and that's what many people are obviously concerned about with CHEGA, is that tendency towards dehumanization. And even if, well, it looks like the leader does do that, and some of the members of the party do that, even though they have some interesting policies that can also be seen objectively as quite useful to a country's future, we tend to go into the slippery slope, don't we, rather than continuing to talk intelligently, which is what you're proposing. And so so bringing it back to Portugal, he never wanted to be president, I don't think, did he? It was a sort of political move. He wants to be prime minister, I suspect, rather than president. But here we are, where he is in the runoff event, which is on February the 8th, I think. It's between him and the socialist. Seguro is PS, is he not? Is that right? So that's an interesting contest between more left-leaning than the government is, and it's between left and right for the president, isn't it? And you might expect that sort of polarity in the parliament and not in the presidential role, but this is the sort of proxy of political emotion, isn't it? If it can't be discussed and if people aren't feeling heard, this is the sort of thing you have, isn't it? Like Trump, like Brexit, all of these things happen because people are not being heard, and they, instead of it maintaining at a level of intelligent discussion, it becomes very emotional, and then you get these sort of outbursts politically, which is what this looks like. And I've only just realized that, you've got left and right very much so in this runoff, and he could win. And what do you think that might be like then for foreigners? And what do you think? I think we'd have that same sense of shock, wouldn't we? And then we'd have to get on with it. This is the history of Portuguese presidents, which I think is very interesting. They tend to come in for, 2 terms. You do 2 terms, which is 8 years. And that's the history of Portuguese presidents. The last one has been pretty moderate and a PSD leaning character, and been quite a good grandfather, guardrail of the nation. And I can't see Ventura behaving in quite the same way as that grandfather.
He's the because here's another thing to consider, right? And especially with all of this, political discomfort about talking about certain topics. One of the things that is core to the human being is that we don't like being told what to do and what to think. Right. And if you try to force someone and impose your views on them and how they should think and act, especially if you do it like with righteous indignation or some kind of posturing, that is when you get people to rebel against you. And you see this throughout all of history, right? Like, for example, I wasn't really born back then, but back, I don't know, 70s, 80s, 90s, when you had those hyper religious families that music was the devil, worship, and all of these things, then people got more into those topics as kind of like a fighting against oppression sort of thing. Right. And on this case, whether you agree with him or not, it's very clear that if you see interviews, if you see news about him, if you see anything online, anything he says, the journalists are always yelling at him and accusing him and asking loaded questions and trying to, force them. Some other times, maybe you do some random comment and then you'll have people out of nowhere start insulting you and calling you CHEGA voter and whatever when you didn't even mention the political party.
Yeah.
And again, if you call people something long enough, eventually they'll start agreeing with you. And he is also the middle finger, I believe, for many people to the system.
Right.
So you have the system that is always lying, that is always gaslighting you, which is the media, right? Always telling you, hey, only these guys are good, these guys are bad. And then you have also other people online who believe the media and then start acting that way because they feel justified in being horrible human beings towards other people just because they think they support a certain party.
Yes.
And then they say, you know what? I'm going to vote for this guy just to send a huge middle finger to the political, to the media, and to the people who behave this way.
Yes.
Because once again, and you know, this is very similar to Trump as well. I think this is what is happening in the US also, with the media and with the people. And actually, as soon as he started becoming a thing here in Portugal, immediately the media was always comparing him to Trump and always comparing him to the Nazis and always comparing him to the fascism, which I think is a disservice to what those atrocities really were.
Yes.
I don't know if people forgot what those words mean or if they're doing it on purpose just for sensationalism reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, you know, people see that and then those who can see the insanity, then every new article and piece about it will just reinforce their beliefs that I don't know what other else options are there, but I want this guy to send a message. Does that make sense? And you are right. It's about,
yes.
It's about the cultural impact.
Yes,
how
absolutely.
People feel and react. Because if he gets elected, even if he doesn't do anything, it's going to shift completely the political landscape of Portugal and everything.
Yes, exactly. And we are dealing in a way that I was talking about earlier, how as humans we might regulate our nervous systems. It's almost like the macro version of that. There's sort of a national nervous system, isn't there? Which this sort of political debate doesn't help. It just puts people on edge and makes people suspicious, and some are doubling down on being kinder to each other because of it, and others clearly because they're scared and I don't know, are not very educated or whatever it is, they are doubling down on their dislike of people, and that creates a very unpleasant atmosphere to live your life in. We've got some comments here from Mel, very valid. I've noticed a big increase in Portuguese making direct, in-person, nasty comments to immigrants in the past 7 years, emboldened by the rise of CHEGA, in my opinion. No, not saying this is a majority, just noting a big rise in the comments I personally hear, especially now my Portuguese is better. That's one good reason for not learning the language. There's an American, I'm only joking. As an American, this is concerning. I agree that dialogue is needed between all of us. The new New York City mayor, Mandani, is the example that kindness, intelligence, and empathy is the way. Yeah, unless you're ideologically possessed against him. You know, Mandani also is positioned, is he not, or is reported as sort of bringing out the worst in the opposition as well. I don't know how we de-escalate that. That's what we're talking about here, isn't it? It's the de-escalation of the political, emotional state of people. How might we do that in Portugal?
We need to bring back common sense and remove the insanity, right?
How would you do that, Vitor?
That's why I support discussing common sense, stopping animals towards each other, and addressing things by their merits and not who they're associated with, right? So there are three main things I want to address here, which is Mandani, the public sentiment, and the other thing that I'm sure I'll remember later. But okay, so first thing is public sentiment, right? And again, I see this as a sort of a weird pendulum, and I would not be surprised at all if people start being actually more xenophobic and with slightly more hostility towards immigrants. I don't think because that's how they really felt, but because of all of the pressure and that inability for dialogue. It's like a pressure cooker, right? So if the country and people and the media were just basically more common sense and basically, hey, okay, you want to come here, all good. But then if somebody's doing, I don't know, committing crimes or exploiting social security systems or basically not being net positive, to the community and being a negative. But then the media and people and the government would be like, okay, those people have no place here. Let's send them to jail, or let's send them back to their country, or if they're committing crimes or something like that, then we wouldn't have this issue. But what has happened is we're now at a point where people are so concerned, and by people, I mean the community in general and the media and all of that, and also certain politicians, they are so concerned with being politically correct and with not promoting xenophobia or whatever, that if, for example, an immigrant commits a crime, they're basically going to try and hide it, run around the topic, and stuff like that. And then when people start noticing that, and they're being called out for seeing that as being a problem, then that's how they become more radicalized, right? I can remember a good example. One time on one of the expat groups here in the north, somebody was saying that they just got carjacked for a person that was speaking with a Brazilian accent, and everybody be careful and whatever. And then there was a lady that started passively aggressively calling out the poster, because why are you saying he has a Brazilian accent? You're promoting to xenophobia, right? And it's like, but it's a fact. Like, if the guy spoke Brazilian, then that is another key evidence of who it might be. Oh yeah, but there are thousands of Brazilian people and whatever in Braga. You're going. It's this sort of priorities, right? They're more worried about people being xenophobic or whatever towards Brazilians than they are about, hey, crime shouldn't happen.
We can be both, can't we? I mean, that's the nature of polarization, I suppose. As soon as you inject your ideology into a discussion, you're going to pull in the bits of information that suit you in that discussion to prove your point, rather than staying open-minded and common sense, as I think you're suggesting. Sarah's saying here, it'd be great if you guys would address the role of misinformation and disinformation in these dialogues. It would. I don't know what to say about that, though. I really don't, Sarah. I just don't know how you deal with this. What's your view on this?
I do. It's really simple. Again, you detach from whatever your political side is.
Yes.
Because nowadays everything has to have a side, and you have to have an opinion on everything.
Yes.
First of all, accept that you don't have to have an opinion about everything.
What?
Right? I know, wild, right? There were riots in Indonesia. There were riots in Iran. There are tragedies all over the world. Sudan has been at war for decades. I don't know next to anything about these countries. I'm not going to comment. And that's okay. You don't have to comment.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, for example, when
absolutely, that's the human urge, isn't it? And the kind of how we've been conditioned is something gets served up in front of you. You know, the news agenda, if you like, is almost begging for you to be emotionally involved. So I think the thing here, though, sorry, go on.
The news media, remember that the media is in the business of making money. They're not in the business of informing you.
Yes.
They use some information as an excuse, but their goal is to make you to click, to make you sensationalize and radicalize, because then you want more of their content, okay?
Yeah.
But that's for the disinformation. Another key thing is you need to be aware that every issue isn't black and white, okay? Most of them are gray. And I'm going to bring up that controversial topic that I mentioned on the other video, which was that incident with that lady that got shot by the ICE agent. Now, the reason why there is so much misinformation and people are always talking nonsense is because they are so stuck in the trenches of their opinion and their side and their moral outcome that they refuse to acknowledge any valid concerns of the other side. And just try and justify or make excuses or whatever, because the reality is, whenever these things happen, there's always something that everybody could have done differently. Okay? But if you're on the side of the lady, then you're only going to find, blame for the law enforcement and everything wrong that they did, and she's an innocent angel. Whereas if you're on the other side, then she did everything wrong, and this guy just protected himself and whatever, and just doing his job.
Yeah.
And neither of those are a very clean-cut case. Of course, I have my opinion, but my opinion doesn't matter. Opinions are like butts. Everybody has one, but they don't like it when you shove it in their faces.
But I don't think that addresses this, honestly, Vitor. And I think this is going to get worse. I mean,
it doesn't address it because it is how it is now.
Yes.
It will only stop being that way when we stop acting like animals. And
yes.
Tribalistic.
Fair enough. And I can't see that happening very quickly. You know,
It'll take probably 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, the dynamics of this of how we do news do rely on what you're saying, which is an emotional engagement and reaction, which is there's a very thin line, isn't there, between what we feel deeply and morally and ethically, and how we might become triggered and emotionally stimulated and lose our minds, literally, with these things. And that's where we're at, I think. And as for disinformation and misinformation, that's only going to get worse. You know,
and this is what I recommend also.
Yeah.
Stop defending people or stop being against people and be for or against the merits of each individual argument.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've noticed this. Everybody notices this. If Trump does anything, it's always evil for the media. It's always the best thing in the world for the people who support him.
Yeah.
Same with André Ventura. Same with anybody all over the world.
Yes.
Obviously, that's nonsense. Yes. And Mamdani is a good example because politically, and not for the idea, but in terms of the practice, I would say over 90% of his politics and ideas to me sound like a horrible nightmare scenario that would destroy the city if implemented like he wants. But that being said, I wonder if I wouldn't have voted for him if I was a New York citizen.
It's very interesting. And also, the other thing to note is it's none of your business. Again, you don't have to have a view on it. You don't live in New York, do you? This is also what's interesting about that. And we become invested in these things as if we live there or if we've really got some sort of influence. Vitor, we have to go, and we will continue this next time we see you. Before we do, and this is quite a clunky transition, but I thank you for being here and sharing it authentically and with the integrity that you bring to the situation. And also, we should mention that you are also helping people move to Portugal. Another clunky transition, but it's also true. Portugal.com if you want Vitor's help. And you're not cancelling him because of something he said this morning. He's very good at what he does. And I think he's putting the link to that in the chat. And also, I didn't get to ask the citizenship test question, which again is slightly awkward because this was a joke that we have a citizenship test question because they're tightening up citizenship. But why shouldn't people learn more about Portuguese culture by way of wanting to be in the country? Number 98 then, citizenship test question 98. What is the name of the historic aqueduct in Lisbon? Is it A, the Aqueduto dos Águas Livres? Is it the Aqueduto de Belém? Or is it Aqueduto de San Sebastião? St. Sebastian's Day tomorrow, the 20th. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But which of it is those? The Águas Livres, Belém, or San Sebastião for the Portuguese citizenship test question 98. Only 2 more to go. Tune in for those tomorrow. Vitor, final word to you then, or final request from you, or how might you implore our audience of Gumpers and Portugal clubbers here?
I truly believe that sunlight is the best disinfectant. We need to have more speech, more open dialogue. And again, I will end with that. I think it was Nietzsche, I don't know how to pronounce his name, quote, which is, beware that when you're fighting monsters, you don't let yourself become into a monster, because when you stare at the abyss gazes back into you. And I see this a lot. People get so caught up with being righteous about their political side or their political candidate, and they get so invested in it, and then they see the other political candidate as being the opposite of that, that they start becoming toxic people. And I've seen some really, really vicious behavior and attitudes from someone who I don't know, like I've seen people who, just to give one example, were really good friends going along. Everything was fine, lived for many years in Portugal, knew each other. But then, because one of them found out the other person voted for Trump, immediately they started calling them all kinds of the nastiest names on the dictionary and just harassing them in public.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we cannot live like this.
No,
you cannot let yourself go to a point where just because somebody is associated with one thing, now all of a sudden you see them as a monster.
Yes.
Because then you become the monster by the way you treat them. It's
Absolutely.
not them that are the problem.
Yes.
It's our actions that dictate that. And I don't care if you're on the right, if you're on the left. I have all kinds of clients. I have all kinds of friends. I have friends who are literal communists, right? They want communism to come back. I have friends who are hyper-capitalist. And you know what? Almost all of them agree with over 90% of the things. They want better lives for themselves and the community.
Yes.
They want people to be more safe. They want more prosperity. They just disagree on how to get there. Right. So it's not like one side is saying that all of you should get removed from the planet if you don't agree with me. But if we don't allow conversations to happen, eventually more people will think that way. And that's not what I want to see.
Well said, mate. Let's keep talking and let's keep checking ourselves as well. I mean, that's the most important thing here, isn't it? Is to look at yourself. It's the hardest. It's the first place to start, but it's perhaps the easiest, the hardest to go. It's easier to point fingers at other people, as we're seeing at the moment. Thank you, Vitor.
Sorry for Solar Life's comment. When I say censorship, I don't only mean like actual governmental censorship. I also mean like, we need to let people express themselves. If somebody comes out and says, I don't know, some weird political leader or historical guy like those who have been mentioned there were really great and did the right thing, ask them questions. Be curious. Don't attack them. Like maybe sometimes they're making a joke, because being edgy on the internet and posting shock comments for entertainment is a thing that happens. Okay. But even if they are being serious, hey, I would be curious to know why they think that way. Maybe there's something I can learn. Well, because even that guy, I'm sure he probably did some good things. Like, why did he get into power? How did people feel that at that time? Besides all of the atrocities, did he do anything good?
On Martin Luther King Day, there's some excellent thoughts from you, Vitor. I'm going to look forward to speaking to you again. Lots of love to you and the family and to Northern Portugal. And we'll see everyone again tomorrow. Did you have something else?
Last thing.
Last thing.
I just commented the name. I highly recommend that everybody look up Daryl Davis. Real quick. He was a black man in the U.S. that, thought about how can someone hate me if they don't know me? So he would join KKK meetings. I think everybody knows who the KKK are, right? And he would befriend them, those professional racists that wanted to exterminate black people. He would befriend them, and he collected over 200 KKK robes of people who gave up being on the Klan because he befriended them, and he was their friend, and he was there for them.
Remarkable.
So we don't counter extremism with violence, with hatred, with shame, with yelling at them. We do it by listening to them, befriending them, and understanding them.
Wow, that's brave and an excellent note to end on. Thank you very much, Vitor Costa. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need